Yo guys, welcome to my pure Azamina deck profile. Yeah, I have this sweet Azamina deck box from Sleeve Chief that I think is really nice. And I'm bringing this deck to locals for the second time ever, so I wanted to make a deck profile about it because I think I haven't at least seen that many pure Azamina deck profiles, and so I would like to share my experience with it. Yeah, and my drink for today is this energy drink. It's like a Danish brand, but it tastes pretty good. Let me have a sip. So, pure Azamina is a very, very interesting strategy, and it's something that I have been wanting to do for a long time, ever since I started playing with the Azamina cards back in Rage of the Abyss. And then really when we got the new support in Supreme Darkness with Saint Azamina and so on and so forth, because that was when I realized that I really liked the Azamina cards from both an aesthetic perspective, but also like a gameplay perspective. It was to the point that I actually, my White Forest deck was actually had a lot of Azamina cards, much more than a regular White Forest deck, because I simply just liked the Azamina cards so much. And over time, I almost feel like I want to say that I like the Azamina cards more than the White Forest cards, at least from a gameplay perspective. I think aesthetically I still like the White Forest cards a bit more, although the Azamina cards are really cool. But just the gameplay of Azamina is really nice because you're able to get on the field really fast and do a lot without having anything on the board, as opposed to White Forest, where you need to stick two bodies, a tuner and non-tuner on the board, and in order to really progress your game plan. With Azamina, you can do a lot with just the cards in your hand, and don't really need to have anything established on the board to get going. And I think that makes the strategy much more potent going second. Also because a lot of the Azamina cards are really good at breaking the board. Yeah, so overall I just really love the Azamina cards, and I think they're super fun to play with. The issue is that when I sat down, many months ago, and yeah, I guess almost half a year ago by now, and wanted to make a pure Azamina deck, is that it's really hard to go first, actually, because there are not really any one-card combos in Azamina. Everything, even the like one card, Black Witch or Wanted or Deception, they still require you to have a monster, or you can tribute, or a card you can send from the hand or the field, sometimes even both. So there just isn't really truly any one card combos, and even though and even if you say that you count it as a one card combo, Wanted or Black Witch or Deception, it's not even that good. So it really only becomes good when you have multiple engine cards, and the combos when you have multiple engine cards are very non-linear, and it varies a lot depending on what engine cards you open in which combination. So it's very hard to theorize this deck going first, I feel like. And furthermore, there's just no normal summon, really, no Azamina normal summon. So you sort of lack this. It feels like there's a missing piece of the puzzle that should have been the driving force behind your combos, but there's just nothing really. It feels like something is missing. I am still hoping we can get some more Azamina support. That would be so cool, but it's a bit up in the air, right? Because I feel like the lore story whole thing is kind of over, so who knows. But yeah, so it's just been a challenge to make a functional pure Azamina deck, at least going first, I think. But I feel like I have gotten a good solution for that. It might not be what you expect, but who knows, maybe it is. And I also feel like the deck got actually something it was missing when the Abelstar Vengeance got printed. So yeah, this is just a deck profile for locals, so I have some one-offs or fun-offs, you might call it, that I'm testing out. And there is some experimental stuff in there, and I'll try to point that out. And the deck is actually not that bad, I'd say. It's just that you need... it's very hard to play, I think. It's very hard to play. And you need to get... And it can be a bit awkward going first. But it does also have some really amazing strengths. I think it's actually pretty powerful going second. So yeah, I'll just talk about it when we get there. If I have time, I also want to show some combos. Even though I just said that they can be very non-linear and really depend on the individual cards you open, I do want to show at least some combos, just so you have a general sense of direction if you want to pick this deck up. Yeah, so let's get going. And I'm just gonna obviously start with the main deck. Let me just get some more energy drink. Whoa, whoops. Okay. So basically for the main deck, I'm playing around 25 or 26 engine. I think the correct number should be 25, but I'm testing on one off, so it's 26 right now. I'm playing 25 engine cards, and maybe that sounds like a lot to you, maybe it doesn't sound. It's basically the same that I play in my Mitsurugi deck, and the Mitsurugi deck is kind of similar in the sense that you want to open 2-card combinations. Of course, Mitsurugi also have a bunch of 1-card combos, so in that sense it's better, right? But we just really want to open at least 2 engine cards, sometimes preferably 3 engine cards, in a lot of circumstances. So we want to play like not too much non-engine. So yeah. And I'm starting out with 3 Black Witch. I actually got this alternate art for my birthday. I bought it for myself, so I'm pretty hyped about that. 3 Black Witch. It's basically... I want to max out on consistency in this deck, so Black Witch is just a card that we want to get to every game in some way or another. And if we can just hard open it, then it opens up for us the opportunity to use our wanted to grab Vengeance instead. So a lot of the time it's not bad to open at all, and it does give some sort of direction to our combos. So let me just put them up here. And then triple wanted. Pretty self-explanatory. Another thing that we want to achieve with our engine is just to have a lot of simple spells as cards in our deck, because those are obviously the most important ones. Those are the ones you use to fusion summon. So we just want to max out on simple spells cards, and this one is probably the best one, let's be real. Or maybe it's like in contention for the best one together with the next one, which is Deception. Same thing. We're not really in detonator format anymore, so Deception is not as horrible as it used to be when you're going second. It's still obviously a pretty big choke point, because this obviously is the card we use to get from our Witch to our Azamina engine. And so this is probably where they will use their Ash Blossom or the Ghost Ogre or stuff like that. But you'll see that we have some ways to mitigate that. Still, this card is pretty good to open, just because if they somehow want to try to prevent you from getting to it, like they want to stop the Black Witch or even the Wanted, you can just, hard open it and already have it. It's also pretty good to end on as an endboard piece because it has this effect you might not know, but if a monster goes to the opponent's graveyard from anywhere, while you control it as a Azamina monster, it drains them for 15, meaning that they lose 1500 life and you gain 1500 life. And that is actually, in some matchups, a pretty powerful mechanic. It's kind of like a, Vanquish Soul is pretty meta right now, and it's like a burger burn, except it also gains you life. And you can, of course, do it on your own turn, then do it on theirs turn. And so if you're in, like, for example, if you're against Vanquish Soul or Draco Tail or some kind of matchup you expect to be a bit grindy, this card can be as like a really annoying threat for your opponent, and it can help you survive, it can help you close out the game, and also if you end on this on the field, it also has the perk that you can use it during your opponent's turn to, for example, a fusion summon with a card like Debtors. You can also send it to the graveyard when their Bellstar revives herself. And if you do that, it sets itself during the end phase, obviously. So it just provides free follow-up. And you'll see that sort of one of the main strategies in this deck is not to create an unbeatable board. It's just to have a okay board with a ton of follow-up. And yeah, ending on one of these is actually a way of getting a lot more follow-up. So we're just playing 3 of those, and you can obviously take some of these out if you're in a matchup where they're bad going second. Like if you're against like Rachel, obviously you can take 2 of them out when you go second. And then one Vengeance. This is a really cool card because it's a Dear Bellstar monster, so you can grab it with Wanted. And that means that if you hard open the Bellstar, your Wanted is not at all useless. Secondly, it's a Sinful Spoils card, so it's pretty nice just to have used as a fusion material, because she can obviously summon herself back from the graveyard. Yeah, and the only thing is that we don't really, like in White Forest, you use Curse of Diabell to summon Vengeance as the trap requirement for her summon. In this deck, we don't have any like deterministic way of doing that, and we don't really need to do that anyway. We want to end with her on the field, but we are using a Muckcracker from the Underworld to do that, which I'll be going over later. So this is also our endboard piece in a lot of combos, but we don't use her own effect to summon her. We summon her back from the graveyard with Muckcracker from the Underworld. And she's obviously really good to end on together with the Black Witch, because her effect to pop one and summon a Synchro monster from the extra deck is pretty powerful. So yeah, and she, just does a lot overall. You probably know her. So yeah, it's like 10 cards there that all either are Sinful Spoils or get us to Sinful Spoils. And then the next card we have is triple Fusion Spells. And maybe you're surprised by this, maybe you're not surprised by this, but basically I got a lot of inspiration for this deck by looking at some OCG lists, and they just max out on the fusion spells. And I can, I guess, tell you right now that I am also playing triple Debtors. And so we are playing 6 copies of fusion spells in this deck, and that is one of the reasons that if they hit us on our deception, it's often not too bad at all, because we do have a pretty high likelihood of just opening one of these fusion spells. Of course, the Hallowed Azamina is not once per turn, so it's not bad at all to open in multiples. And the Debtors is also not terrible to open in multiples, because this is also an end board piece, right? You can use it to fusion summon on your opponent's turn, and that's in a lot of cases how we play around something like a Fuvelas, stuff like that. Of course, it also has the graveyard effect where you banish it and summon an Azamina back from your graveyard. It's like really, really strong for follow-up, and you can also use it on your first turn if you send it to the graveyard with the Black Witch or something like that. So it has a lot of use cases. It's also great going second because it's like a surprise fusion summon. And so it's just an overall really good card. And so we max out on the fusion spells, and that is basically how we sort of push through a lot of interruptions, and also how we basically up our consistency a lot, because we don't need the deception to resolve that often in order to be able to play the game. And then we have some trap cards. We have Sinful Spouse of Betrayal. This is just a Omni negate, right? It tributes a Diabellstar monster for cost to negate a face-up card on the field. It's really strong. Its second effect is arguably stronger even. If it's in the graveyard, you can banish it if your opponent tries to respond to any of your Sinful Spoils cards or effects, or your Diabellstar cards or effects, and it'll negate that. And your opponent really needs to be aware of this, and a lot of people aren't, because this card is not used that often in White Forest, and it can be really strong going first. It can also be pretty decent going second if you use this as a fusion material, send it to the graveyard, and then later in the game you can just banish this, and they cannot respond to anything you do, or they get punished for responding. This is also really good in our half boards where we maybe get stopped really early and we just have a Black Witch. Then this at least provides us an Omni negate. And so yeah, just a really, really strong trap card in the deck. And then we also have a Sinful Spouse of Slumber, which is basically the Book of Moon. And the nice thing about this is that it can set itself. If you have a level 5 or higher illusion monster, it can set itself on the graveyard, but it gets banished when it leaves the field. But it's just a nice like card economy thing, where it's essentially 2 Sinful Spoils card, or you can use it as a fusion material, and then you can also use it as an endboard piece, and that's really nice. And so yeah, so sometimes you want to have a Sinful Spoils card, and when you go first, and this a lot of time is just what you want to pick, because you can use it as a fusion material, and it can also at the same time it also doubles as an endboard piece. Yeah, and then lastly, Determination. This one is the one that shuffles back Sinful Spoils cards from your graveyard or banishment to summon an Azamina monster. So it's basically like a Necro Fusion or something like that. And you can also banish it from the graveyard to take a Sinful Spoils spell trap in your graveyard and set it. So this is like a pretty decent thing also when you get hard stopped and you, for example, don't want to commit to a Fuvelas. You can set this card and then you can just summon whatever you wanted to summon, but doing it during your opponent's turn instead. And so it's just a card that makes it so that we can play on our opponent's turn. It isn't not a Sinful Spoils card, so that makes it a bit more weaker, and I have also considered moving this card to the side deck specifically for when we go first, as a thrust target. But right now I'm trying it in the main deck still, but yeah, so it's not a simple sports card, and you really want as much engine as possible to be a simple sports card. But it is still an Azamina card that you can grab with Murcielago or with Deception if you don't really want to commit into a lot of summons. Instead of searching the fusion spells, if you feel like you don't want to commit into a Charmy, you can grab this one instead, and then potentially do just as much on your opponent's turn instead. So yeah, still undecided about it, but it has been pretty good in practice. And then we also have the Queen Azamina. And this is maybe not required, I don't know. I do feel like it's pretty strong. I want to say that it's like a core card of the deck, because even though it's a brick, it is still a simple spells card that you can use as fusion material, and you can use it twice, so it does provide a lot of economy. It's also an Azamina card that you can search if you don't want to search any fusion spell, but you just need more fusion materials instead. Then you can search this one and provides a lot of fusion material. Also, she's really strong going second because of her. She just have a lot of attack, and when you defeat anything by battle, you can set one. You can add back one of your simple spoil cards in your graveyard, and so that's just really strong for like pushing through. Like if you break a board, you push through some damage and you kill a monster with one of your guys, and then you take something from your graveyard and add it back, and then you have some follow-up for when you have to pass it to your opponent's turn. I really like it in that sense. She also makes OTKs a lot easier, and so I really like her. I probably would not play the deck without her, but you know, it is a brick, so you take that as you want. But yeah, so that's basically 20 cards here, where we have 13 cards that either are simple spells cards or lead to simple spells card, and then the rest is just basically fusion spells and the fusion trap. And now we get to basically the where I think I solved a lot of problems with the deck, because you might notice here that we don't really have a normal summon in this, and I spent a long time actually searching for a good normal summon for the deck, because while it's not required that you have a normal summon, when you go first, it is really nice to have something to normal summon. And if you have ever played Pure Azamina, which I don't know how many of you have, but if you have, you will know that it's very important to have a normal summon. And that is because when the first Azamina fusion you make is always Murcielago, so that you can, extend. And you always want some way of putting the Murcielago into the graveyard so that you can shuffle her back to the extra deck and add back your Hallowed Azamina. And the easiest way to do that is to link her off into something. But the only other monster that we really reliably have is Diabellstar, the Black Witch, and you just don't really want to link Diabellstar away, because she provides a lot of value on the end field. Of course, she comes back during your opponent's turn when she's sent to the graveyard, and she sets a Civil Spells card that is just really important for follow-up. And also, if you have her with Vengeance, then Vengeance just gets super powered, right? So we pretty much always want to end with Black Witch on our field. Don't want to link Black Witch off into something. And so you just want some monster to normal summon. Like, it can even be like a Charmy. It doesn't really matter. You just need something to normal summon, so you can make a link 2 with your Murcielago, so that your Murcielago is in the graveyard and you don't lose out on any value when you activate your Hallowed to add back from the graveyard. Okay, that's it. I hope you understand now why normal summon is really important. And you might get a jump scare when I show you the normal summon, but yeah, it is 2 Snake Eye Ash and 2 Poplas. So you don't cringe too much because we're not really playing a Snake Eye deck, I promise. There's no Flamberge in the main, and we are not doing crazy Snake Eye combos at all. Like, I promise you, like, legitimately, we are not doing crazy Snake Eyes combos. But so you might be wondering, why the hell is this your normal summon? And the reason is that these cards actually lead you to a simple spoils card. So it is basically a normal summon that gets you to a simple spoils card, and that is more than what we need, right? I was just talking about we just need a normal summon to link Murcielago off. These cards, they act as a normal summon, and they also act as a simple spoils card on top of that. So it's just basically the ideal way normal summon. The other normal summon I was thinking about is literally Sylvie of the White Forest, because she also acts as a normal summon, and she can also get a simple spells card in form of the fusion spell. But there's a couple different issues with Sylvie. One is that the fusion spell, Simple Spells of the White Forest, is not very good in Azamina. Like, if you play with it, like at least in this build, if you play with the fusion spell, you'll notice that you just don't really have anything you want to fusion summon, and you don't really want to use your Azamina monsters as fusion materials. You want them just to stay on the field, and you just go nag a lot in resources, and so it's not really super worth it. It can be good, but it's really not like at its strongest in a pure Azamina deck. It's more so strong in a White Forest or a mix of the two, I would say. And then also Sylvie is a light monster, and we can play Dominus Impulse in pure Azamina, but not really if we choose to play Sylvie as our normal summon, because then she doesn't do anything really at all. But the Snake Eye, Ash, and Poplas are fire monsters, so they don't conflict with Impulse, and they also provide a much more relevant simple spells card than the fusion spell. I should say simple spells of the White Forest, because obviously there are multiple fusion spells. However, there's only one simple spells fusion spell, right? So, but yeah, so obviously Snake Eye Ash Snake Eye Ash just searches Poplar, and then Poplar just summon himself. And so Snake Eye Ash is like marginally better to open than Poplar, because you just get an extra body. But as I maybe have alluded to, we're not really doing any crazy combos in this deck, and we don't really need that many bodies. Like, having an extra body is pretty nice sometimes, because you can tribute it for Deception, or you can send it to the graveyard for Black Witch, stuff like that. But we are not really trying to link climb like crazy, so therefore we also just playing 2 Poplars, because Poplar on his own is actually also pretty good. You just normal summon him, and of course he grabs us a Snake Eye spell. And the big one here is Dramatic Snake Eye Chase. And what this says is that you can place a Diabellstar monster from your hand, deck, or graveyard face up in your spell trap zone as a continuous spell. And then during your end phase, you can banish this card from graveyard and target one monster card, treat it as a continuous spell, and you can special summon that monster. And of course, in this deck, we pretty much just scale Vengeance. And because Vengeance is always treated as a simple spells card, we just have a simple spells card in our spell trap zone now that we can use for fusion summoning. And that's pretty much it, right? It's not like rocket science. It's just we weren't able to do this before Vengeance came out, and now we have this really easy way of getting from a Poplar into a simple spells card, and it has the bonus effect of getting the Vengeance in rotation, so we don't have to search it. And if we, of course, let it stay in the spell trap zone, then Dramatic Snake Eye can special summon her during the end phase. So we also solve the issue of not really having a trap card that we can banish to meet the Diabellstar Vengeance's own summoning requirement. And that we might do that if we just can't really play too much. If we get hard stopped, we might just leave her in the spell trap zone and summon her during the end phase to have some interruptions. But most of the time we're going to use her in the spell trap zone as a fusion material, sending her to the graveyard, and then making a mug cracker and summoning her back. And so yeah, mug cracker is the link 2 that we will be making with Mauricio Lago and either Poplar or Snake Eye Ash. So that's pretty much the idea. I have put Flamberge Dragon in the side deck because when you are going first, the Flamberge Dragon is actually pretty nice if you open Ash, Snake Eye Ash, because the Flamberge Dragon can target a monster in your graveyard and of course set it in your spell trap zone. And so what that means is that you can use Dramatic Snake Eye Chase to set Vengeance and then send Vengeance to the graveyard as a fusion material, and then summon Flamberge, and Flamberge can scale back the Diabellstar Vengeance into the spell trap zone, and you get another Sinful Spells card that you can use as a fusion material. So it's just a bit of extra gravy with Flamberge Dragon. We're not using it to really combo that much in regards of link climbing or stuff like that. And I'm also not even sure that it's worth it because, of course, Flamberge is just another brick. So for now, I'm trying it out in the side deck. But yeah, that's pretty much the idea. And so the last card here, which I didn't really know where to put as an engine or a non-engine, but I ended up placing it in the engine section now, is Subversion. And Subversion is just pretty nice because it's a card I was playing in the main deck even before I was playing these Snake Eyes cards, because it's just a really good board breaker. It's not like super good, but it's just decent. And most of all, it's a simple spells card. So it's just a nice little board breaker that helps you going second and doubles as a simple spells card. It's searchable and you can use it as a fusion material. And of course, it also makes it so that we have another target to search with Poplar, because Subversion does have the word Snake Eye in its name. So that means that if we hard draw the Dramatic Snake Eye Chase, but we also have an Ash or a Poplar, we still have a search target in our deck. And it also makes it so that Ash and Poplar are potentially a lot better when we go second. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's like 26 engine cards, and I will say that we have a lot of simple spells cards here, because if you count Ash and Poplar and Dramatic Snake Eye Chase as simple spells cards, and I know they aren't, they just get a simple spells card, and so if you normal summon Snake Eye Ash and it gets interrupted, then it obviously is not a simple spells card, so take it with a grain of salt. But if you count these, and if you count them as simple spells card, and of course the same is true for Black Witch, right? You have like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, like 19 simple cards that either are simple spells card or search simple spells cards in your deck. That's almost half of the deck. So you will not be missing a simple spells card. That is my goal with this deck, because the worst thing that happens if you don't open any simple spells card and there's no way to get to a fusion spell, you just cannot play the game at all. And so for the engine, I just wanted to maximize on simple spells card and also maximize on fusion spells, so that we have the highest possible likelihood of being able to play the game. Because I do think that this engine is pretty strong if we're able to play the game, but we do need to draw 2 or 3 card combinations pretty often. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the engine. It's not like set in stone, but I do feel like at least a lot of this makes a lot of sense. And so that's like 26 engine or 25, depending on what you want to call subversion, I guess. And so for the non-engine, I am playing 3 Fuvolas and 3 Purulia. I know that Purulia is not necessarily something that most people are main decking right now. I personally still think it's very strong. I think it's decent against Yummy, and it's pretty good against Vanquish Soul and Canine and Crystron. It's like a card that is like has a high floor right now, and the Charmies just synergize so amazingly with Azamina cards. Like the Charmies are by far the best non-engine in Azamina, in pure Azamina, because it's, of course, drawing a lot of cards is really, really strong in this deck when you go second. Because if we have like a ton of Sinful Spells cards and some fusion spells in our hand, we can just pop off. Like it's our deck scales crazy with cards in hand. Like absolutely insanely with cards in hand. So Charmies is by far the best non-engine you can play. And so I choose to main deck 6 of them. Because when you go first, they're not even that bad to draw. Like sometimes it's even pretty good to draw them. I know that might sound crazy, but like I've been saying, we just need a normal summon in this deck every single time. And so we of course do play 4 normal summons in 2 Snake Eye Ash and 2 Poplars. But when we also play 6 Charmies, that's 10 normal summons. There's no way we don't draw a card that we can monster that we can normal summon. They're obviously a lot worse than the Snake Eye monsters, but it's still just, we have 10 cards that we can normal summon. It will never happen that we don't have a normal summon, at least, you know, very rarely. And they're also just perfect to tribute with Deception, and perfect to send to the graveyard with to summon the Black Witch, right? Because if this is an Ash Blossom or a Nibiru or something like that, you might be pretty hesitant about tributing them for Deception or sending them to the graveyard to summon the Black Witch. With the Charmies, you're never even hesitant about it. It's always easy to do. You don't have to sit and think about, oh, should I save this Ash Blossom? Should I use it as a tribute for Deception? Stuff like that. And that's just so nice. So I think the Charmies are by far the best non-engine you can play in the deck. And then as the last hand trap, I'm playing 3 copies of Dominus Impulse. And this is like, you could argue how good this card is when you don't play a lot of hand traps, because it's really like, if this is your only interruption, it doesn't do that much, and it's like, it's one of the best hand traps in the game, but still, no matter how good your hand trap is, if you only have one, it's probably not gonna do a ton against your opponent, to be honest. So you could definitely play without this. I wouldn't fault you for just putting in some breakers here instead. I really like it though, because it is a trap card for Vengeance, so it's pretty nice synergy there. So if you have it, you can pretty easily summon your Vengeance. It's also pretty strong for going first as well, so it's actually very strong going first, and then it's just yeah, it's a very flexible card. And so, you know, in terms of being a hand trap and being your only hand trap, it's probably not gonna do too much, although it could in some sense. Like, it's really good against Draco Tail and stuff like that. But overall, it's probably not worth it, but I just like it for the flexibility. And we do also have a lot more hand traps in the side deck. So if we are in a matchup where we feel like we just need to load up on hand traps, then we can do that. And then, of course, this card will become a lot better. So, yeah. Not convinced that this is main deck worthy, but I still feel like it's a pretty strong card. And then triple Droplet. I really like Droplet in pure Azamina because we have a ton of quick plays. So you can really do some crazy stuff, especially if you draw a bunch with the Charmies. It's also really nice with the Charmies because if you draw into extra Charmies, you can just send them using Droplet. you can just Droplet is amazing with debtors because you can go like start wanted, chain debtors, chain Droplet, stuff like that. It's just I feel like the card synergizes really nicely with a deck that has a lot of quick play spells, or we also have a bunch of main deck traps that we don't mind sending to the graveyard. The Azamina Determination has a nice graveyard effect. Sinful Spores of Betrayal has a nice graveyard effect. Sinful Spores of Slumber has a nice graveyard effect. So it's just I feel like there's a lot of synergy, and of course it is also usable when we go first. So I really like it in the deck. For the last 3 cards, I have 1 Frost, 1 Talents, and 1 Angel Statue. Because our deck is so focused on making a Link 2 monster, I wanted a strong Link 2 that was not Mudcracker in the cases where we don't open Snake Eyes or we just don't get to Vengeance. Because sometimes if you don't open Snake Eye Ash or Poplar or Dramatic Snake Eye Chase, and you get interrupted a lot, you might not be able to get to Diabellstar Vengeance. And in that case, Mudcracker from the Underworld just does nothing for you. And so I wanted another Link 2 that you can fall back on in case things are not going too well. And I chose the Silhouette Rabbit, of course. IP Masquerena is obviously another really strong Link 2, but this deck does not really generate a ton of bodies, so I'm a bit hesitant about IP Masquerena. Sometimes you just only have 2 bodies on the field, and in that case it doesn't really do too much. But of course maybe it's a case where I need to play the deck a bit more, because of course if we can play IP Masquerena instead of Silhouette Rabbit, we don't need to play this brick in the deck. And that's obviously pretty massive. So yeah, if you think you can consistently generate 3 bodies, then you can use 2 of them to make IP, and then end on IP plus Black Witch. That's still very strong, right? But I've just felt like sometimes when I play the deck and just get hand trapped to the ground, I'm only able to really end on 2 bodies, and I still need to link that Murcielago off for something, and so I chose the Silhouette Rabbit, and so therefore I'm also playing the Angel Statue as a brick. And then just the Talents and a Frost. This could be other stuff as well. I'm still experimenting a bit with the non-engine. But basically, I really like Talents in this deck because this deck just wants to have a lot of cards in the hand. Our deck gets like exponentially better almost the more cards we have in our hand, because we do crazy plays. So draw 2 with Talents is pretty strong. Also sometimes this deck dies to like 1 Ash Blossom on the Deception or something like that, and we just really need to draw 2 to find some more stuff, but we have a ton of hits in the deck, so it's pretty likely that we find some stuff. Also, hand whip for 1 is pretty good when we go first, and then the take control effect can also be decent. So I think that just overall this card just synergizes with the deck pretty much. Same thing with Frost. When we go second, we can grab a Sinful Spores card in the form of Subversion with Frost, or we can grab a Fusion spell in the form of Hallowed Azamina. So this kind of is obviously not a starter, because you kind of need to be able to play and your opponent needs to do something before you can activate Frost. But if you get to that point, then Frost can pretty much get you what you need. Can obviously also get a pretty strong board breaker from our side deck as well. And then going first, we have we main deck 3 really good normal trap cards that are in archetype. So Sinful Spores Betrayal, Sinful Spores Slumber, and Azamina Determination. Those are all really, really, really strong cards, and not only end board pieces, but also stuff that lets us play further, right? If we just need if we get hand trapped to death and we just need an extra Sinful Spores card, we can set one of the Sinful Spores traps. And if we are missing a fusion, way to fusion summon, and we get stopped to death by our opponent, we can set determination and we can fusion summon during our opponent's turn instead. So I really like the thrust. I'm playing the rest of them in the side deck, but I just wanted to include at least one in the main deck. That's my idea. So it's like some hand traps, some breakers. I think that's pretty viable, this format, and I think all of these work pretty nicely in the deck. So that is my non-engine lineup for now. Again, it might change, to be honest, but I do think there's like merit to all of these cards. And also, I don't want to play too many non-engine cards in this deck, because this is really just a gas, like a deck where we want a lot of gas. We want to have those fusion spells, we want to have those simple spells cards, otherwise our deck just doesn't work. And so playing a ton of hand trap, it doesn't really make sense in this deck. And overall, just playing too many non-engine cards, it's just too risky in the sense that we might open like too many non-engine and we just can't play really, or maybe we cannot even play through an Ash Blossom or something like that. So yeah, that's the main deck. And I guess I'll go over the side deck first, and this is pretty much big work in progress. I'm just testing out a bunch of stuff here. But I am playing Meows in the side, and I know that Meows is not like too popular right now, but I do still like it against Yummy, and also against Mitsurugi. It's also pretty good against some more roguish strategies like Memento. Can work in like, it just work, and obviously Malice, right? Because I'm not playing Lancia right now, so it's nice to have a card that's really good against Malice, but also have some other applications. And again, I just think the Charmy synergizes so much with the Azamina engine that I wanted to play Meows. It's not mandatory at all. I think you could play something else, but I just felt like it's nice to have one of these, like, this card covers a lot of like shaky matchups like Malice, Memento, Mitsurugi, right? And just playing a ton of Charmies is just nice sometimes. You basically always want to play 6 Charmies, and so if you're in a matchup where Perulia is kind of terrible, then you can swap these Meows in so that you at least always have 6 Charmies. I think that's pretty nice. And also against the Yummy, it's like, it's not even that good against them when they go, when you use it on their turn, right? Because you usually just draw like one when they summon back from the field spell, and then they can't really go into the synchro that summons back, but it's not too bad for them, right? It's mostly when they pass over to you and you just shotgun the Meows, then they summon a ton from the graveyard during your turn, right? With all the synchro monsters and with surprise, and so they basically in a lose-lose situation where if they try to interact with you, you just draw more cards, and if they don't use their interactions, then obviously you play uninterrupted. So I do believe that this is pretty okay. I know it's not like super popular, but yeah. Then I'm trying out Lava Golems. This one is also pretty uncertain. This last one is one I still need to borrow, but basically the idea here is more so an idea I had before I found out about the Snake Eye stuff and stuff like that, where I didn't really have a normal summon. Lava Golem was just pretty good because it obviously locks you out of your normal summon, but if you don't have a normal summon, then there's just literally no downside to this card, and it's pretty goddamn strong. So I played it then, and now with the Snake Eyes card, I'm not too sure, because my plan is currently to side out the Snake Eye Ash and Poplas, going second, and then side in Lava Golems and some other breakers. But Poplar being able to search Subversion and getting you to Vengeance and stuff like that, it might still be a pretty decent play going second. And so this is more so a case of I don't really know my side patterns properly. Like you probably also want to take some of the trap cards out going second. So, taking out of all 4 normal summons, Snake Eye normal summons, and also the trap cards. It's like 6 cards you take out, and you drop a lot of engine cards. And the idea is that the Chamis are going to make up for that. But if you're in a matchup where the Chamis are not that good, I would not side out the Snake Eye normal summons, because you just need them to be able to play. If you're in a matchup where, like, if you're against combo and the Chamis are crazy, then I think you can take them out, because you will draw with the Chamis, and you will have a much higher likelihood of seeing your Sinful Spores and your Azamina cards. So yeah, I'm still a bit undecided about Lava Golem. This could also just be like a breaker card, like an Evenly Matched, or a Dark Ruler No More, or Lightning Storms, or even Book of Eclipse, probably also pretty goddamn good. So, take it with a grain of salt. These Lava Golems could also just be some breakers, but I still need to figure out the side patterns, and for now I'm trying out the Lava Golems. Yeah. And then also playing the last 2 Thrusts and the Feather Duster. And this is basically just like some generic cards that you can pretty much always side in, going first or going second. The Duster is just pretty versatile, and it's nice to have a first target that has a lot of impact when you go second, so that you always feel like you have something powerful to grab with first in case you need a breaker. I think Duster is like one of those cards that pretty much always is pretty good. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Again, if you play like Dark Ruler evenly, that just makes the thrusts even better going second. But of course, you might not really get to resolve the thrust if they choose to negate it in that case. And then for going first, I have 3 Ash Blossoms. So I feel like Azamina is a deck that's pretty good at stopping against Chamis, and you can pretty easily just say, okay, you Charmed me, I'll fusion summon once the Murcielago, I'll search Adeptors, I'll search Azamina Determination, I'll set up a half board, and I'll play on your opponent's turn. I feel like this deck is actually pretty strong under Chamis. You can set up Vengeance as well without really doing any special summons from the deck or extra deck. If you draw like Poplar or Dramatic Chase or Ash, something like that. So it makes pretty powerful half boards, I feel like, but it's still the case that if you get Full Lust and you can just Ash it, then that's still so strong for you. So I feel like even though we are able to make strong half boards, I'm still gonna play the Ash Blossoms in the side deck just to counter the Chami anyway. And in that same vein, I think like I'm also just playing Kolpai. This is actually a lot better, because we also sometimes get stopped a lot by Ash Blossom and Ghost Ogre and stuff like that. So this is not just against Chamis, it's a lot better. And then Flamberge Dragon, as I told you, you can scale back the Vengeance. Maybe it's not really worth it to play because you have to hard open Snake Eye Ash. I also want to play Bonfire, but I don't have a copy, so it might be more worthwhile if you have Bonfire as well. So yeah, still testing this out. This might not be... you can replace this with any card that you like going first. It's just to take out the Chamis. And then finally also Nibiru. And this is just also a card like between these 2 thrusts and the rest here, we do have 8 cards that we can side in going first. We need to take out the 6 Chamis, and sometimes it's also pretty nice to take out the Subversion, because even though it is a Sinful Spores card, it doesn't really do anything when we go first. So we have like 6 or 7 cards that we like to take out, and we could also take out, you know, a droplet or two. It's not like the most amazing card going first anyway. So these 8 cards you can bring in going first. The bureau is obviously pretty strong when you go first. It's not like crazy. It's more so because if we are playing in, like as I said before, if we're playing in a matchup where we just feel like we need more hand traps, we can put in the Nibiru's and the Ashes, and maybe also the Meows if it's a good matchup for that, and we can try to stop them, you know, with that, because Nibiru is obviously a very strong card to draw into with Chamis, and so I did want to have a backup plan if breakers are just not cutting it. If you're playing against like a deck that like Malice or something like that, which is just very resilient to breakers, or you know, Rachel Misrugi and stuff like that, then maybe you could consider bringing in some more hand traps instead. And that's basically it for the side deck. The only thing I'm kind of unsure about is the Flamberge and also the Lava Golems. So yeah, otherwise I feel like it's pretty, and you could also, I don't think the Meows are mandatory at all. Then for the extra deck, of course we are playing Azamina, so we are playing Murcielago, we are playing Ilias and Veer, we are playing this card that I can never pronounce, Sol Erythicton. We are obviously playing the Moragina, we are obviously playing the Saint Azamina, and we're also playing the Saint. So just one of each for now, because I have a lot of cards that I want to test out, basically, in the extra deck. I think you could go up on Murcielagos and Saint Azaminas. You know, add up this to 2, up this to 2. I think that's perfectly valid, I think, because you do sometimes just want them in the extra deck so you can just summon another one. Of course, Hallowed Azamina gets you to shuffle one back every time it's your turn, but sometimes it's a little too slow, so you just want some extra ones in your extra deck so that you can summon them. But for now, I'm just playing these 6, just one of each, because basically you always go through Murcielago and Ilias Severe, and then if you can make Saint, you make her, and then Saint almost always summons the Moragina. And so these 4 you pretty much always go through, and then these 2 are more like situational. This is great for breaking the board or just being an interruption when you fusion summon on your opponent's turn. And then of course Azamina is just a game ender. It's like our access code talker or kaiju thing, right? Where you just summon Saint summon Moragina, you just contact fuse off your opponent's monster and make Saint Azamina, then Moragina can summon back Saint, stuff like this. We just have a crazy amount of damage on the board, very, very out of nowhere. So Azamina is very strong. I want to be able to make her go first, because I do think her effect is really strong together with Murcielago, but I haven't found a consistent way of doing that. Basically because she reduces the attack every time, or every time they do something, your opponent's monster's attacks gets reduced, and Murcielago also just reduces your opponent's attack based on the number of Azamina monsters you have by quite a lot, actually. And then Azamina has a floodgate effect where if the attack is 0, you can't activate the effect. So against decks like Yami and stuff like that, you can just lock them out of the game pretty fast with Azamina. But I haven't really found a consistent way of doing that when going first. So it's more of a going second thing to just lock out the game. So yeah, all of these are obviously required, and I wish I could maybe play an extra copy of Murcielago and Saint, but I'm just testing out some other cards. And then for synchros, I am playing these 4 here, and it's a lot, basically. But this one, the Silvera, I'll replace with a Mug Cracker. I don't have a Mug Cracker right now, so I'm borrowing in one tomorrow. And the card that I'm going to take out for the Mug Cracker is this Silvera, but basically the idea is that obviously the only way we can make these is with Vengeance, and because we really want to end with Vengeance plus Black Witch on the field, I think it's pretty feasible. And of course Vengeance can summon Poplar or Silvera, so if we're going second, the book is probably better. If we're going first, Poplar is probably better. And then with Poplar we can either make the Vengeance Dragon using Poplar and Vengeance, or we can make this Duration, the Cursed Thunder Guard, using Poplar and the Black Witch. And this card is like a quick effect Raigeki or quick effect Duster on your opponent's turn. So it's pretty goddamn strong. And so I think I'm this like I don't think it's worthwhile to it's like worth it to play 4 synchro monsters. It's a bit too much because obviously they only come up when you have Vengeance plus Black Witch, but I'm trying to create a strategy where I do that consistently. So I wanted to play at least some just to test it out. But these are the ones I think you can consider, and I think you might probably just play 3 or even just 2, depending. 2 of these or 3 of these, depending, but yeah. So, and then for just some link summons, link monsters, I'm playing the Relinquished Anima for Poplar, just because if you normal summon Poplar, you can link it into Relinquished Anima and then use Poplar's effect to place himself in the spell trap zone, and then you have a sort of free card to send to the graveyard to summon Black Witch. And so it's just nice to get some extra value in that sense, so that you can, if you open Poplar plus Wanted or Poplar plus Black Witch, you can go through your plays without losing that crucial body that we talked about that you need in order to make a link to together with Mauricio Lago. And so I think it's worthwhile to play Anima, but I'm not totally convinced. It might not be worth it because the extra deck is pretty tight, but yeah. And then also Silhouette Rabbit, I talked about this when talking about Angel Statue, is basically the link 2 we make if we cannot get to Vengeance and we don't want to make Muckcracker in that case. And then obviously you can count this as a Muckcracker. I think that's, I talked about that. And then obviously a Little Light, also pretty mandatory, obviously. And then I'm playing a Dark and a Celine, and I don't know how good this is or how mandatory in the sense this is, but I wanted a way to get your Black Witch back in case that you have to use her as a link material or she gets outed. If you somehow lose your Black Witch, you can use Dark with your Azamina monsters and then make Celine and then summon back Black Witch, and so you can get her back in rotation, because a lot of the time Black Witch is kind of your follow-up, and so if you lose your access to the Black Witch, you might run out of steam. So it's mostly like for grind games. I feel like this could be relevant. Maybe it's not that relevant. I haven't played that much with this deck, so maybe you could cut these if that scenario just doesn't come up very often. But in theory, I think it does, so I'm playing them for now. But yeah, so also the extra deck is very open-ended. You basically just need to play the 6 Azaminas, right? And then I think if you're basing your strategy around Vengeance and Black Witch as your endboard pieces, you also probably play at least some synchros, maybe 2, and then I think also, SP and Muckcracker, and then another link to, in case you don't get to Vengeance, maybe a Silhouette Rabbit, maybe an IP Masquerina, if you can do that. I think that's pretty much it in terms of like what I would say is like mandatory, but there's a lot of different ways you can build this deck. All right, let me just have a quick break and then I'll try to show a combo. All right, so for the combos, I think I want to just show some of the Snake Eye synergies, or at least how like Snake Eye Ash or Snake Eye Poplar augments the deck. And I know that might be a little bit of cheating because, you know, you definitely won't always open them. So, but again, it's like there's so many different combos in this deck based on the individual cards you draw, and so I don't really have any like spreadsheet one card combo to show. So I figured at least I'd show what a Poplar plus a Hallowed Azamina can do, because I think that's pretty, you know, it's pretty likely to happen. It's because you can draw either Snake Eye Ash or Poplar. This is, I guess, slightly worse because you don't have the extra body from Ash, but still. And then a fusion spell. So yeah, so basically in this case we pretty much just start with Poplar, and we grab our I think let's see if I can remember it. It's been like a week since I made this combo. I hope I can remember it. Also, look at these cool Azamina, Queen Azamina sleeves. Pretty nice. We grab our Dramatic Snake Eye Chase, and then we activate it, and we of course scale our Vengeance. And yeah, let's put the graveyard here. So we have our Vengeance. Let me just put it up here so that's a bit more visible. And now we just use our Hallowed Azamina and we make our Murcielago, pretty much, by sending this Vengeance to the graveyard. And then we have Murcielago, which will trigger, and we can grab our Wanted, basically. And so here we have two bodies, and we just use these to link into a Mudcracker, or whatever link 2 you want to make. I guess that kind of look like Mudcracker a bit, so just pretend that this is Mudcracker. Then we have Poplar in the graveyard, which will trigger when sent to the graveyard to scale itself. So we'll have that. And then we can activate Hallowed Azamina here, targeting Murcielago, to shuffle it back and add it to our hand. And so now our hand is Wanted plus Hallowed Azamina. And so we can go activate Hallowed and chain Wanted. And our Wanted will find us our Diabellstar, the Black Witch, and our Hallowed will make our Ilia Sylvia here. So we get that. And now we can pretty much use Diabellstar and send Poplar to the graveyard and summon her. And activate her effect to set a simple spell or trap. So now it's like, now there's all, like, this was like pretty on rails for the most part, I feel like. Now we already have some different options depending on what we want to set up with the Black Witch. So let's just go over some things first. We have already used fusion summon twice. And so the only way we could fusion summon more here in this scenario is to set Deception, and then use Deception to search another fusion spell. And we can do that, but we don't really have anything super good to fusion summon, because we would only have the Deception as the simple spells card, and so we'd only really have one material. So probably, and then also we don't really have anything to tribute in our hand right now. If we had, then I think Deception would be a pretty strong play. Like if we had a Charmy or something like that. You can of course also tribute the Black Witch, but I wouldn't do that in this scenario. It's also the case that we don't really currently have a Sinful Spoil spell or trap in our graveyard that we can use to draw a card with Wanted. And so you might maybe want to grab one of them. And that would be the Deception, right? But even if we grab Deception, we don't really have anything to Fusion Summon right now. So yeah, you can see it's a bit tricky, and that's pretty much how it is with this deck. There's no like easy combos. They're all really hard, and I feel like you often just have to make a decision based on the specific game at hand. And so, for example, you could set Deception, as we talked about. You could set Betrayal as a pretty good card, or you could set Sinful Spoils of Slumber, basically. And those are probably the different options. And in terms of Slumber and Betrayal, I feel like Betrayal in this scenario is just a lot better. It's an Omni-Negate versus a Book of Moons, so yeah, I would probably choose that. So you could right now just set Betrayal, and then you would require one extra card in your hand for the Muckcracker discard. But then you would summon back Vengeance, and this would be your end field, basically. So that you'd have the Omni-Negate from Elias Elvira. You'd have your Black Witch, you have your Betrayal to Omni-Negate something, and you'd have your Vengeance to pop something, and then of course summon something like a Poplar, and then go into either a Duration or the Vengeance Dragon, right? And also Muckcracker can protect from destruction for your monsters. She has an effect where if your monster would get destroyed, you can instead tribute a fiend monster, and she is a fiend herself. So you can protect your field, your monsters from destruction, which is pretty nice. And so this is like a decent number of interruptions. If we were to say grab the Deception instead, let's just imagine that we have just roll back to the situation where we summon Black Witch, and we set Deception instead. You could do something like activate Deception, and then you could say, okay, let me use Muckcracker here. Discard this imaginary card from our hand and special summon her Vengeance. And then you contribute the Muckcracker with Deception, because Muckcracker, it basically locks you into Fiends for the rest of the turn. So we want to use Muckcracker when we know we're not going to summon anymore. So we summon back the Vengeance, and now we're locked into Fiends. And we tribute her for Deception. And we can then add a Azamina card to our hand, right? And the two that make sense here is either the Determination or the Debtors. And if we look at our graveyard, we have one Wanted in the graveyard, and that's our only Sinful Spells we have in our graveyard or Banishment. During our opponent's turn, we can get the Vengeance into the graveyard, using it as a synchro material, or just if it gets outed, I guess. And in that case, we would have 2 cards to shuffle back. But I do want to note that shuffling back Wanted and Vengeance is not particularly good, because Wanted, of course, gives you an extra draw as a follow-up when you activate it, when you use this graveyard effect. And Vengeance is just pretty nice to have in the graveyard so that you can summon her back, right? And so in this scenario, I would probably go for Debtors instead. And so we are Fiend Lock, right? So it doesn't really make sense to summon anymore. I don't actually think we can summon anything. So we just set the Debtors and we pass. And so instead of having the Omni-Negate, we instead have a Debtors and a Deception. And so what this does is that on our opponent's turn, we do have the drain for 1500 with Deception, which is pretty nice. I've talked about that. And we do have the Omni-Negate with Ilia Silvia. We do, of course, also have the Vengeance. And in this case, we would almost always use Vengeance to summon Poplar, and then Poplar plus the Black Witch to summon out the duration, right? And so in this case, you obviously then you'd have the witch trigger in the graveyard. You'd have to send something to the graveyard to summon her back. I don't know what exactly that would be right now, but the point is that after you've used Vengeance, you can use Debtors here, and because Vengeance is also a Sinful Spells card, you can take these two cards and you can make Saint Azamina. Probably not in the extra monster zone, but you can make Saint Azamina, and that's pretty cool, right? Saint is pretty cool. Now I will say, unless we save the Ilia Silvia, I would probably not go for Saint here, or unless Saint is just very good in the matchup. You know, she does obviously have a floodgate effect, but the only real thing that makes sense to summon right now with Saint is Mora Regina, right? And Mora Regina's effect to pop up to 2 cards is very powerful, but it only triggers when we activate a Sinful Spells or Azamina effect. And we don't really have anything in the graveyard that can activate on our opponent's turn right now. And so it's only if we save the Ilia Silvia, because then we can use this and then target 2 cards to pop them. And then, you know, the whole thing turns into an interruption. But if we just go back in time, and we didn't do all this, and we have the Debtors and the Deception here, and we summoned maybe at some point the Poplar back at this point right now, then we can also just use Debtors here and send the Deception or send the Vengeance depending, and then summon out, of course, the Soul Ericicton, which is just sends a card to the graveyard, right? It's not like crazy, but still pretty strong, right? I don't know if the Omni-Negate Betrayal is probably better than this, right? But depending on the situation, depending on how good Saint Azamina is in the matchup, or how good Sol is, and also the fact that you do get Deception in rotation, comes back during the end step, and so they it provides just automatic follow-up when it becomes your turn. You also get the Debtors in rotation, so if any of your Azaminas go to the graveyard, you can just start the turn out by summoning back the Ilia Silvia, for example. It's also pretty strong. And so, yeah, it really depends, I feel like, and also depends on what other cards do you have in your hand and so on and so forth. Yeah, so yeah, it's just to say this deck is not like, it's really not that straightforward to play, and the combos are not at all very linear. It's very, very, very non-linear, but what I wanted to do is just focus on ending on Black Witch plus Vengeance, because that is a lot of interruptions and a lot of follow-up just on its own, and then you know, you take it from there. And I guess I can show you just quickly if you draw Snake Eye Ash instead, and if you have the Flambridge Dragon in the deck, because then you can do some funny stuff, and I'll let you be the judge. But basically, same scenario where you draw Hallowed, and this time it's Snake Eye Ash instead. So these 2 cards here, and you open out with Snake Eye Ash, and you add Poplar to your hand, and Poplar will activate to summon itself, and then it will activate to add the Dramatic Snake Eye Chase, and then you will go activate the Dramatic Snake Eye Chase, and let's see here, you'll scale the Vengeance. Oh, let me move these up a bit so you can see what my hand is and what's on the field. Yeah, and then you have like at this situation here, we have Hallowed on the hand in our hand, and so now you can basically do a bunch of different things here. You can say, let's go hello Azamina, and you can go summon out your Murcielago by sending the vengeance to the graveyard. And then Murcielago here will of course just add the vengeance. And then you can go, you could go these two here into a Muckcracker. Let's just act like the dark is a Muckcracker again. And then have the Poplar effect to set itself, and the Hallowed effect here targeting the Murcielago to shuffle the Murcielago back and add the Hallowed to the hand. So this is 4 summons, I think. We won with Snake Ash, then we summoned Poplar, then we summoned Murcielago, that's 3. Then we linked into Muckcracker, and that's 4. And then now we just activate Hallowed and Chain Wanted. So we add the Black Witch, and we summon out the Ilias Sylvia here. So now we are nip protected, if that mattered. And then we can use Ash here and send these 2 to the graveyard in order to summon out the Flamberge Dragon. And then here we can use Flamberge Dragon to scale back the vengeance again, actually. And then we can do some different things, I guess. We can send this Flamberge Dragon to the graveyard to summon the Black Witch, and then Flamberge and Black Witch will trigger. So with Black Witch, we probably grab a Deception. And Flamberge here can target the Poplar and the Snake Eye Ash to summon back. So we set the Deception with the Black Witch, we activate the Deception, and then here we can say Deception. I'm kind of just freestyling right now, by the way, but we can tribute Snake Eye Ash here, and probably go for a Debtors, not gonna lie. Because we can here, so obviously a bunch of different options here. Let me just take a breather and go through them. We have some link to, it could be Muckcracker, it could be Silhouette Rabbit or IP Masquerina, I guess. Just something we have some link to. And we have the Vengeance in the graveyard, and we have some Sinful Spells card we can set with Black Witch. Again, here we can probably set a Betrayal if we want to have an Omni-Negate, right? But let's say we want to extend a bit further, and we have Deception, and we tributed the Ash Blossom here. Now, the Vengeance here, we could potentially just end with it in the Spell Trap Zone, and then let Dramatic Snake Eye Chase summon it to the field. So that's just a thing to keep in mind. We don't necessarily have to make a Muckcracker in this scenario to summon back Vengeance, but of course, if we want to, we can use her as a fusion material to make a Azamina, and then summon her back using the Muckcracker. And that's, I think, what I'm in the process of doing right now. So I'm activating Debtors here, and I'm sending these 2 to the graveyard, and I'm summoning out the Saint Azamina, obviously. And let's see here. Now, yeah, so this is where you can make a pretty greedy play if you don't think your opponent has nip. So let me just, I guess, show you that play. But first, yeah, let's just do it, because I wanted to show like a max value play, I guess. We can use Saint here to summon the Moagina. Then we can go activate as Wanted to banish itself and target Deception, to put it on the bottom of the deck and draw a card. And then we can chain the Moagina here, and we can pop the the Ilias Severe. And I think I also want to pop the Poplar, to be completely honest, because I do want space enough for Vengeance as well. So, yeah, let's pop these two. It would have been nice to end on Poplar because it does sort of provide value by setting itself back if it goes to the graveyard during your opponent's turn. So it's a pretty nice synergy with Black Witch. But I mean, this is magical Christmas land anyway. We'll probably get interrupted beforehand anyway. So, and of course you could also maybe have some other link place that you go into, maybe even before making the Mark Cracker, and then this you could probably sequence this a bit differently so that you wouldn't have this issue. I'm pretty confident. But yeah, so we activate the Wanted, targeting Deception, and we're chaining Moragina, and we're targeting these two to just get rid of them. And then we're putting Deception onto the bottom of the deck, and let's just say we draw something useless like a Fubulous here. And now, in a new chain, Ilia Sylvia will activate since it was destroyed, and we can grab out something like a Sinful Spells of Betrayal, so that we have an non-indicate. And then we can just say Moragina here, target an illusion in the graveyard to summon it back. So we were open to nip, but if they don't have it, they don't have it, I guess. Then we use Mark Cracker, discarding the one card we drew of Wanted, and then summoning out the Vengeance, and we can end with a Trail on the field. So like, this is a ton of stuff, right? But it's also it's a bit clogged. So this is like a full combo, I guess. But it is also a bunch of interruptions, I feel like, because let's say it's your opponent's turn, and you, for example, let's just say that you use your Omni-Negate here to free up some space. And you probably have to start with one of the negates. You could also let them play a bit until they have established some bodies, and then you can use the Omni and then the Moragina to pop something. So, you know, that's 2 interruptions. And then at some point you could maybe use your Diabell Star here, or your Betrayal to negate something as well. And then that's 3 interruptions, and then Diabell Star here will activate in graveyard to try to summon herself back. And we could send, for example, the Mark Cracker to the graveyard. This card will probably be most relevant at the start of that turn, because it protects against board wipes, basically. So, you know, if they don't have any board wipes at this point, then we could probably safely send her to the graveyard to summon back the Black Witch. And then Black Witch here will probably, let's be real, it will probably set us another copy of Wanted, so that we have some nice follow-up. And then our Vengeance, we can pop something and summon out the Poplar. So that's 4 interruptions, I think. And then we can use the Poplar and maybe do it with Black Witch or something like that. Not as scared of losing the Black Witch now that we have a set Wanted. And we can summon out the Duration Thunder Guard, Cursed Thunder Guard as our 5th interruption. And then, of course, I do also want to count Saint Azamina as an interruption, because she kind of is. I mean, in most decks, she kind of punishes. And so that's like 6 interruptions, depending. 2 Omnis, some pops, and some wipes with the Duration, and that Floodgate with Saint Azamina. So it's overall, I think, pretty strong. And it was a Snake Eye Ash plus Hallowed Azamina combo. Of course, the follow-up is crazy. If they don't out the Vengeance can just activate again on your own turn. And if they don't out the Moragina, then the Moragina can quickly just summon back the Omni-Negate, like as the first action during your opponent's turn. when it comes back to you. If they out the Saint, but not the Morgana, you can just summon the Saint back. And yeah, so and this is just a lot of damage already on the field. And of course, you can also just use Depters to summon back Ilia Silvera, or Saint. Can't summon back Morgana because that card was not properly summoned. So if they out Morgana, that's probably the target that you want to use to send back to the deck with Saint, because you can never revive her. She was not properly summoned. But yeah, so basically you have Depters in the graveyard that can summon an Azamina back. You have Hallowed and you have Wanted, so you can very quickly make a, let's say that all of these go to the graveyard, the whole field gets outed. You can basically, you can do a ton of stuff, right? But you could probably take Morgana here and the Hallowed, and you can shuffle it back, and then you can use Hallowed, Chain Wanted to bring back the Witch, and you probably grab another copy, to be honest, rather than grabbing the one from the graveyard. But let's just say we play round draw, I guess. And summon out Murcielago. Murcielago will basically just add like I think honestly in this situation I'd probably there's a lot of options. I mean, we do need another way to fusion summon right now, so maybe the correct choice is, if you have some bodies that could be used, in Deception. Otherwise, also Queen Azamina here. If you do have another fusion spell, we don't currently right now. And of course also Determination. If you just want to have something, let's say we don't have any cards in our hand, and so we need something to send to graveyard with Black Witch, and so we send this Determination to the graveyard and summon out the Black Witch, and then our Black Witch can pretty much set us probably a Deception, I think, and then we go then we probably go activate Deception here. I think we just tribute Demolish Yalago and grab out another Hallowed, and then we can go Determination to banish itself and target like, doesn't really matter, but maybe the Betrayal, and set it, and we can go Hallowed here and send these to the graveyard to summon out the Moa Regina again, this time properly summoned. And now we can use Moa Regina here to summon back the Ilia Silvera. We can use Depters to banish itself, targeting the Saint to summon it back. Then we chain the Moa Regina, pop 2 cards in the field, summon back the Saint. Then we probably do a contact fuse of the Saint and the strongest monster into Azamina. And yeah, I mean, you can just see that we also have the Wanted draw here with Betrayal. Shuffle that in to get another draw. And this is, Ilia Silvera doubles the damage that Azamina Masters, apart from itself, does. So this is 8k, and it's just a ton of damage, right? And yeah, so pretty much this is like, I guess, a showcase of what the Snake Eye cards do for Azamina. I think they give a ton of more direction to the deck when you go first. I also think they could be decent going second, to be honest. Just having a normal summon like Snake Eye Ash is probably not something they will take lightly if you normal summon that. It just provides kind of what you need to make a cohesive end board. Without it, it gets a lot harder. Let me just say it right now. It's a lot harder if you don't open the Snake Eye monsters. And so I didn't showcase any of those combos here because they're just, you know, a lot less impressive, to be honest. And also a lot less linear. But the basic idea is that if you always want to, basically the idea is that you always pretty much want to get to Black Witch, and you pretty much always want to make your Murcielago in order to do that, right? So you start at one of these 2 points, right? And you get to your Deception, and you try to make an Ilia Severe as your main form of interruption, and then you want to have some sort of normal summon that lets you go into some sort of link to, for example, a Silhouette Rabbit, if you're just really down bad, or if you have some extra searches. Getting to Vengeance is quite strong. If you didn't have to search Wanted with your Murcielago, you could search Vengeance instead. So for example, let's say, let's just do a quick one, just because I feel pretty bad about only showing the Snake Eye stuff, but I don't have anything prepared, so don't be too mad at me if this is not a very strong combo. But let's say you open like Wanted and Hallowed Azamina, and so you go Hallowed and chain Wanted, and you grab your Divelsta, and you obviously make your Murcielago. And so the Murcielago here will grab out probably the Vengeance, I feel like. And then in this, well, probably the Vengeance. And then it's like in this is like one of those situations where you just really want a normal summon. So I'm going to assume that we have a normal summon. Let me just find one. It's like, let's just say we have a Fubulas or something like that. Just to make some things a little bit prettier. And you normal summon the Fubulas, and you link these two to, you know, say a Muckcracker here, and you go Hallowed Azamina and target the Murcielago to add it back, and you'd go Hallowed and send this Vengeance to the graveyard, something like that, to summon out your Ilia Silvera. And then here it's like you need some extra cards in hand. Sorry, my cat is going crazy. You need some extra cards in hand, right? Because you need something to discard for the Muckcracker. You also need something to send to Diabellstar. So it's like, in principle, you can end on the same, but it just requires a lot of resources. If we weren't searching Vengeance and going for the Muckcracker line, we could search, we could have searched something like a Deception, and ended up on just a Deception plus a Debtors, right? So let's just do it in in advance, like the whole thing. So let's say like we have, we still need a ton of like bodies. So let me just assume that we drew like double Chummy, I guess. Like, there's no real, like, you kind of need stuff like this. So let's say we go hallowed, chain wanted, we add our Diabel star, and we summon our Murcielago. And then our Murcielago here can maybe add us our, let's say, it adds our, let's say it will add a, maybe a slumber. It's a pretty chill option. And yeah, just a slumber maybe. And then we just go normal summon here, and we go these two into a silhouette rabbit, and then we go hallowed and shuffle back and add this slumber, and we go hallowed center jump slumber, and we summon out the Elias Sylvia, and then we summon out the witch by pitching this Brolia, and we can set the deception. And now we don't have anything to tribute with the deception. So maybe it should have been something else. Let's just say we have something to tribute for the deception. If we don't have anything to tribute, then we just set, then let's just set the betrayal, right? And then activate Morin to set it back. So we have this. Okay, so I probably botched that, but let's just say it's something like this, where you have the Severa Omni, the Ilia Severa Omni, and then of course, if you made a silhouette rabbit, you also have the angel statue as a rune. So you have some interruptions. It's not perfect. I'm still working on this deck, so there's a lot of like unanswered questions, and I don't have like, sometimes you just gotta cook with this deck, and it's pretty hard. Like, there's a lot of options, and it branches out pretty quickly, and they can lead to very different end results, as like we have just seen. It can vary pretty significantly what you end up with, depending on how you sequence your searches and what you search. So yeah, I think that is also what makes this deck really interesting to play. It's definitely a challenge, but I think it's a good one. And so let me know what you think of this deck, and I'll see you guys in the next video.